Yes, he is. He called me and said he was still.
All awake? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bruner?
Here.
Commissioner Stackman?
Here.
Commissioner Mano?
Here.
Commissioner Escher is absent.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Citizens' comments.
I'd like to formally pass out my resume. I understand that there's an opening for Commissioner Corsi. I'd like to be considered, so do you mind if I pass out my resume?
Just give them to Jeff. That's
Thank
the
you.
proper procedure to give it to the board secretary. So, thank you. Any other comments from the consent agenda?
Consent agenda. I move to accept the recommendation of the Administration and Finance Committee to approve the minutes of the Committee of the Whole held on September 7th, 2016, the board meeting held on September 21st of 2016. Also, financial reports, which include the cash on hand and budget report dated September 30th, 2016, the voucher list dated October 19th, 2016, in the amount of $228,753.86, subject to audit.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Commissioner Bruner?
Yes.
Commissioner Stackman?
Yes.
Commissioner Mano?
Yes.
Director's report.
Yeah, just two items. One, this Saturday is the Halloween Family Fest here at the Prairie View Community Center from 3 to 6. It's always a great opportunity to see the young kids having a good time with their families. And also, I just wanted to put out save the date for December 2nd and 3rd, which is our new special event, the Holidays Fest, which will be December 3rd from 11 to 3 at Har Park. If any more information can be found at the website.
Drainage report, hearing none. Unfinished business, administration and finance.
First on the agenda, we have resolution number R08-16, and that is a dedication of this meeting to Commissioner Corsi, who passed away last week. And personally, I want to thank her family for allowing her to be on the board for as long as she was. She was a true community member and a true volunteer. I think our former mayor, Dick Haas, used to say Morton Road is a community of volunteers, and she certainly was embodied that whole spirit. And I want to thank her family, and I'm glad she served on the board and represented us.
Thank you.
Auditors, comprehensive plan.
Well, maybe you should.
Oh,
The resolution.
no, there's one.
Oh, you took
the
it off.
resolution?
He took it off.
I don't have.
The resolution, or you want to vote on the resolution? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we want to make it part of the permanent record.
Oh,
Read it.
Want me to read the resolution?
Just read it.
All right. Resolution, I move to approve resolution number R0816 honoring Commissioner Corsi and thereby making the resolution part of the Morton Road Park District permanent record.
Second.
discussion? Vote?
Commissioner Stackman?
Aye.
Commissioner Mano?
Aye.
Commissioner Bruner?
The auditor's comprehensive annual financial report. I move to accept the recommendation of the Administration and Finance Committee to approve the comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ending April 30th, 2016, which was conducted by Lauterbach and Amon, and to direct the Superintendent of Finance to file the audit report with the appropriate agencies.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? roll.
Commissioner Mano,
Aye.
Commissioner Bruner,
Aye.
Commissioner Stackman.
Aye.
Statement of receipts and disbursements, resolution number R0916. I move to accept the recommendation of the Administration and Finance Committee to approve the statement of receipts and disbursements for the fiscal year ending April 30th, 2016, and direct the treasurer to sign the document and the superintendent of finance to file the document with the appropriate agencies.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Bruner,
Aye.
Commissioner Stackman,
Aye.
Commissioner Mano.
Aye.
Bereavement policy. I move to accept the recommendation of the Administration and Finance Committee for the Board of Park Commissioners to approve the updates to Section 7.2 of the Personnel Policy Manual under the heading bereavement leave.
Second.
Any discussion? This is strictly a housekeeping.
Mandatory,
Mandatory.
change in laws, yes.
This means that anybody with an employee base, how many? Is there a number? How
No.
many people have to be on the payroll to abide by
It has
that?
nothing to do with the payroll on it, it's to do with how many hours you work.
So any
Yep.
full-time employee anywhere working in the state of Illinois comes under this now. Okay, call the roll.
Commissioner Stackman,
Aye.
Commissioner Mano,
Aye.
Commissioner Bruno.
Aye. Drone policy. I move to accept the recommendation of the Administration and Finance Committee to approve the policy on the use of drones on park property and include the new policy in the Board of Commissioners General Practices Manual.
Second.
Discussion?
I just have one question. Last week at the committee meeting, I asked about if there was like a time limit, like is it a one-day policy and one-day permit and processing, how that works?
Yeah, I talked to Jim Brock, our board attorney, and he said that it's solely up to us however we want to do that. And since that's really more on the rental request side of that, we can tweak that at any time. But yeah, we can specify that it's within a certain date range, one event or a series, however we choose to do it. So, yeah. So at this point, we've kind of left it open-ended. If they just want to do it one time, great. If they want to do it for an extended period of time, we just need to coordinate with the with the field supervisor to make sure that there are any activities and there's no conflicts.
And that'll be somehow published so that the public knows when
Yeah.
they get that permit, that that's how it works?
Yes.
Okay.
Call the vote.
Commissioner Bruner,
Aye.
Commissioner Stackman,
Aye.
Commissioner Mano.
Aye.
Parks, Recreation, Maintenance, Parks, Facility, and Maintenance Committee.
I have one item, which is tree removal. I move to accept the recommendation of the Parks and Facilities Maintenance Committee to approve the proposal from Trees R Us Incorporated of Wakanda, Illinois, in the amount of $4,380 to remove 17 trees and stumps throughout the parks.
Is there a second?
Yeah, second.
Discussion?
I just wanted to reiterate that we had discussed this in committee of the whole, and Greg, these are the trees that the staff does not remove. Our staff removes the ones that we can
But there is still
basically handle.
plenty out there for the staff that will be removed.
Right. Just wanted to reiterate that.
And to direct your question on the shoulder tree, those trees still have a lot of growth, so we just got to prune them. We're not going to
Okay.
remove them.
Very good. That's it.
Commissioner Stackman,
Want to call the vote?
Commissioner Stackman,
Aye.
Commissioner Mano,
Aye.
Commissioner Bruno. I can't win.
Recreation Facility Program Committee. That's me now, huh? Okay, refund policy. I move to accept the recommendation of the Recreation Facility Program Committee to approve an updated Park District Program refund procedure.
Second.
Discussion? When we do this, how are we going to market this so everybody knows what it is now?
Yeah, so we will put that information in the brochure, because we're working right now on the winter spring brochure, so that will be in there, that directing them to there's a new policy. It will be placed on the website, and it will be posted downstairs at the registration desk whenever, new refund policy.
Everybody's going to know about it.
everyone's a stretch, but we will make every effort to make sure that people are informed. Yeah.
Call the vote.
Commissioner Mano,
Aye.
Commissioner Bruner, Commissioner Stakeman.
Aye. Flex fees for B4 school and base. I move to accept recommendation of the Recreation Facility Program Committee to approve an increase in the flex pass fee for the B4 school and base programs, which will become effective December 5th, 2016.
Second.
Discussion?
In committee of the whole, Joe did a good job at, Joe and Jeff both did a good job at telling us why and where we were at with this and got us to this point. So all that information is in the packet, back pages, right?
Yep.
This program doesn't come under a scholarship program or anything like that for people? Do we offer scholarship?
Well, for base and for before school, we do offer scholarships. Yes, but yes,
Yeah, on an as-needed basis.
yes, as we're yeah,
And again, we're going to make sure everybody knows about this before.
absolutely.
Because I know a lot of people really count on those programs.
Right. It's really the flex pass, and that's where we're having the sort of a challenge again. What's happening is that rather than registering for the program and having a spot, people can take these flex passes on what is intended to be as an emergency situation. I've got to go in early for work one day, and I need someplace to drop them off. Well, that per day rate is below the daily rate for before school and base programming. So we're trying to adjust that so that it's a little bit more of a premium, but at least matching what the base and the before daily fee is. Because right now it's reduced. So and it's
You can buy like 5 flex passes.
and go all
cheaper
week.
than that.
Right, and it does put a strain on staff because you're taking someone's spot. One, it's taking someone else's spot, and then you don't know from one day to the next who you're going to have. So this is hoping that people will just register for the regular program.
Okay, good. Call the roll.
Commissioner Bruner,
Aye.
Commissioner Stackman,
Aye.
Commissioner Mano.
Aye.
Is there any new business brought before this board tonight?
Yes, we have the strategic plan.
Chuck and Charlie show?
Yeah, the Chuck and Charlie show. Yeah. So, I'm sorry, Georgie, have you met Chuck and Charlie before?
Yes.
Oh, before this? Okay, all right. Sorry.
friends.
BFF.
Well, first of all, we want to say that it's a pleasure to be here tonight, and it's amazing how fast time has gone by. It was May, I think, that we had our first executive steering committee meeting with the leadership team, and I think we made a lot of great progress. And you'll see tonight what's going to take place is we're going to be presenting 6 initiatives to you. These are future-oriented initiatives, and they are not put together by the consultants. We facilitated the meetings. But I think what it's really important to see is that from day one we said with the strategic planning process that what's driving these strategic initiatives are 3 different types of input. The first is the park board's input. Early on, the board is aware that we had a board workshop, and during that workshop the board was very much involved with looking into the future, looking into what critical issues and opportunities there were for the park district. We did a SWOT analysis with them. We did an exercise. If you left town and you came back 5 years later, what changes would you like to see, both positive within the district and what negative things that may be occurring now that you would like to see changed. We also, during the summer, and this was something that the park board requested, is that we toured the facilities and we toured the parks, which gave not only the board but also everybody working on the plan, we were able to physically see all the different parks, and it was so nice when we were going around. Many residents came out and actually stopped us and talked to us about their neighborhood park, and we saw a lot of pride in the people that we saw when we were out at the parks. We have the staff input, and that staff input starts with your leadership team. Jeff and his team, I was kidding when I came earlier, but I was somewhat true. It's like coming home because we've been working now for several months with your leadership team, and we've been impressed with the work that they've done on the strategic plan. They've been fully engaged with this process. And for us as consultants, that's really what makes everything work, because this is something that they're going to have to live with and they're going to have to implement. So we had a leadership team, we called the Executive Steering Committee workshop early on. We met, I think, at least once or twice individually with each of the team leaders. And the staff were able to then work and come up with the initiatives that you've seen tonight. And we felt, edit those, we gave some feedback on them, but those are your leadership team's initiatives. Yep. I guess that's really
Simpson.
yeah. And then the other is the community input. And from day one, the one thing that we said is we're not going to waste all the work that was done with the 2013 comprehensive master plan. And so a lot of times, especially when you look at this first initiative that's being presented, you'll see there was a lot of the research that came out of the comprehensive plan that's also included in the strategic plan, so that those meetings, the thought processes and things like that were taken into consideration. And then Dan and Jeff went out and there were several community meetings that took place. You'll notice at the top is the mission of the district. Now, when you look at this, and I'm trying to look at it from a holistic standpoint, when you start hearing from the team leaders today, what are they looking at when you look 5 years out, or what they're going to be working hard on? They're going to be looking at enhancing the residents' experience at parks and facilities. Okay, how can we do that? You're going to hear tonight details about how you're going to do it. But also taking into consideration, and this is so important, and I think the board members who have been on the board know that any good plan is only a good plan if you take into consideration the planning for long-term stability in the area of financing. So there's some challenges in that area, but the good news, especially when you look at the description that Marty put together, your finances are stable right now, you're in good condition right now. The key is, as you go forward doing these initiatives, making sure that it stays that way, and then you're planning for long-term stability, because we don't know what's going to happen in the area of finances. Strengthening community relations and park district governance, refocusing park district offerings, and a key to making all this happen is keeping your employees and your team members highly engaged. And then also, as we all know, fostering effective communications and marketing, all the changes that are going on with social media and the way people sign up for classes. Before I came here today, I was at our daughter that's in high school, and they had a special program there for parents to come, and it was called Screenagers, okay? S-C-R-E-E-N, Agers. And it talked about all the challenges of raising kids in this day and age with all the social media. But the bottom line that I took home with that is there is a need more than ever for the services that the Park District is offering to get kids out of the house, active in parks and recreation, active in sports, and all the things that are being done by the Park District. So this is the one slide that's in front of you right now that we wanted to make sure that you hang on to, because I think this presents a bigger view of the vision that your team has come up with, and I think it does touch upon all different areas of the district and things that if you don't pay attention to these, and this is one of the things that we said from day one, if we don't do these things going forward, if we miss the ball or we don't put resources in these areas, we will not be successful in the next 5 years. And I don't think anyone could ever say to you that if you don't watch your eye on the finances and really make sure that you're going to stay on top of those, that you probably will not be successful going forward. The same thing with your employees, making sure that you have those employees highly engaged. The Executive Steering Committee, they're going to be here tonight to make a presentation. They're your team leaders in the district. The process that we were in, the first phase that we did was the research and issue identification, and that was done with the park board. There were the community meetings, there were the tours, there were meetings with your leadership team who then met with their own employees. We then are at this phase now developing initiatives and recommendations, and the final phase of this will be is develop tasks and timelines. So if you're asking, well, I can't tell by the plan that's being presented tonight when things are going to be done, what year is it going to be done. There's another step that will take place after the recommendations are on track, hopefully with the board, that there would be tasks and timelines developed. And then the third would be review and approval. We're suggesting that this take place during the month of December, that the plan be put on public display the month of December, and January board meeting, it's ready for your approval. Again, the whole process has had your leadership team, your staff, community, the park board involved with it. And Charlie, I don't know if I left anything else out on the things that we've done here, but we feel that there's been a great deal of input that has come into developing your plan. Here's the role of the Executive Steering Committee. They've been tasked tonight with taking any issues, turning them into future-oriented initiatives. It's much easier to work off an initiative, and then they were also very much involved with writing the initiatives. As I said earlier, that we did the edits on them, and then also tasks and timelines are yet to come. And then just later on, I'll even touch more on this, but going back to the public review in December and the board approving the plan in January. So that's pretty much the overview. Any questions before we get into the initiatives? Charlie, did I?
No, I don't have any
else?
questions.
Anything else? No. All right, Greg, you're up.
So our group, I was the leader of it. We worked on enhancing the residents' experience at the parks and facilities. We had a couple people from the rec staff, Joe, Sue Braubach, Marty from finance, a couple of the park guys, John Strozer and Tim Bruni. Kind of tried to diversify it so we can get everybody's opinion on this. And this is what we came up with for our initiatives. Morton Grove Park District will strive to provide well-maintained, safe, and updated parks and facilities to its users that appropriately reflect the interests and needs of the residents. It is imperative that we maintain all of its physical properties at the highest level possible and seek to make necessary improvements and replacements where necessary. Obviously, the biggest challenge we have is the district's facilities present the greatest challenge because many of them are in need of significant renovation or replacement due to the age. Recommendation 1 was the field house use. The first thing we thought of we needed to do is conduct a review of the current use and how the field houses are used and how much they're being used. And obviously the second thing is renovation. They're all aged and need to be renovated, and also the ADA issues. So a couple ideas that we came up with that came from some of the studies was adding access to the outside restrooms, which is something we had years ago, went away. Now they're asking for it back, so the public is requesting something like that. Another thing we had to think about is back to the usage is if funding is not available for the field houses, consider closing one or more facility to reduce your operation costs. Investigate the possibility of maybe turning one or more of the field houses into more of a pavilion type with some storage and some picnic areas. This way camps can still use it and the residents. Recommendation 2 was dog park. Pretty much most of this has already been taken care of with Jeff and the committee. One of the things that maybe I don't know ever came up was considering allowing the dogs in the paved parks at no cost. Future of Harpool. One of the things was conduct a 5-year operation budget projection to determine the cost of continued operation without significant changes, to better understand the financial ramifications of operating the facility. If funding is not available for repairs, consider closing the pool and utilize the space for alternative uses. Obviously, that would be something you would need to make a committee and see how the public feels about it. Operate the facility as long as possible and physically possible, which leads to the next one, which we conduct a facility conditions assessment with an engineer to determine our remaining life expectancy and options for renovations or replacement. And then if our park was closed, it was mentioned that maybe we should look into adding parking at Oriole, because if you only have one pool, you may need some more parking over there. Development of the new facilities. These are just brainstorms on construct a preschool and daycare center to consolidate and expand existing programs into a centralized state-of-the-art facility. Consider the addition of a multi-use gymnasium. Investigate the installation of an outdoor spray park or expanding the existing one if viable. Preview. Preview, we talked about maybe getting an architect, doing a comprehensive space study to see how the spaces here can be used. Exploring the fitness club, segregated workout areas, lay out possible expansion based on space analysis. Investigate the viability of current track versus a newer, larger track. Explore the possibility of an indoor aquatic facility to complement the fitness club and the members. Identify and address all current mechanical as well as ADA requirements. Based on the analysis, identity any programming opportunities in areas underutilized currently. Another thing was brought up was maybe expanding the gymnasium, taking the back section out and the storage area, the stage, and using that space. And then addressing the old entrance area by enclosing it or adding space or demolishing it and make it green space. General improvements. Adding restrooms to the Howard Park Pavilion. Develop maintenance standards and classification of all sports fields and implement maintenance practices accordingly. First, you probably want to do the assessment and quantify all existing sports fields and see how they're being used, how much they're being used, and ensure they're being used efficiently. Acquire indoor space. This is something we're already doing. We know that through formal and exchange of services agreements with the school districts and other available partners in the community. And address community interests, indoor and outdoor activities exercised by mapping and identifying links of walk paths and installing dedicated picnic areas in the parks. Additional items. If any major capital project was to move forward, you want to develop a group, like I said earlier, and garnering public support, preparation for a possible referendum. You want to consolidate all your capital repair replacement lists into one comprehensive document, which is something we're working on, to give staff, board members, and public a clearer picture. You implement a formal tree donation and park amenity donation, which is something we've had in the past. We'll resurrect that. And then something like we did at Howard Park, possibly do some pavers, sell pavers to go towards the funds of some capital project. Questions?
Sounds great. A lot of money you're going to spend, Greg.
I'm good at that. So is Marty. Just
No, I think you guys have covered the gamut. As we both all know, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities with the facilities we have, but we know that the facilities are old. This building here is 40 years old.
and that's not even the oldest, right?
No, it's not even the oldest. Thank you, Greg.
Fostering effective communication, marketing, and customer service processes. This is my area. So effective communication is a proactive approach to getting information out to the public, and that's using a variety of marketing avenues. Social media that Chuck was talking about. We're trying to work with the PTOs to utilize their email lists so that we can send information out. We're also trying to we're developing a survey to send out to parents to get an idea of what kind of programming that they would like to see. And then the customer-friendly processes are just those avenues that people need to take in order to register for our programs. What is the online process like? You know, what are the stumbling blocks to that? And we're hoping that, not hoping that, but with the implementation of the BSI or RecTrack, that process will become a lot smoother for people, which also gives them an opportunity to do more, not only online, but mobile applications as well. And then the biggest part of that is coming into the front desk, and what is that process like for them? What is that? Do they have to, is the front desk able to give them all the information available to them? What kind of tools does the front desk need in order to provide that customer-friendly service? So we have several recommendations, and one of those things that we heard in the community input meetings is program evaluations. You know, we don't do program evaluations. Well, we do them kind of sporadically, but we're going to implement a formal process about when we're going to and how we're going to evaluate every program. Along those customer-friendly processes, we're going to have an all-staff training session about customer service, maybe bring in an outside source, kind of give us an idea of what customer service friendly processes are, and establish standards to making sure that all staff adhere to those standards. We want to conduct a customer service satisfaction survey so that we can, get out to those individuals and say, okay, what's the front desk like? What are some of the problems that you have with the front desk? Or what are some of the problems that you may experience with getting a refund? Or just, what's it like talking on the phone? Is that something that you're able to do? So those are all those things that we can do to make that process a lot easier for people. We're hoping that when it makes it easier for them, that they are going to enroll in more programs. We want to develop and distribute an annual report on programs finances. I think it's a really important thing to let you know, as well as staff and the public know, how we're doing with our programs. We need to look at how we look at the brochure process. So this really looks at 3 different departments. We're looking at the marketing department, guest services, and the recreation staff. Everybody kind of feeds into that brochure, and we just need to make sure that they're all on the same page, all coordinating together, working collectively to make sure that that process is great. Someone comes into the front desk, they may have a question that's not in the description. There's a process that, how do we get that back to the recreation department? How does marketing fix that? We want to utilize constant contact. That is an email blast sort of service, so that we can send out information. We're able to take those emails and separate them out by the different program areas. So rather than trying to send out one massive email to all 3,000 individuals, we can kind of specialize it into dance, aquatic, athletics, adults, that sort of thing. So hopefully that'll help us target those patrons a lot better. Develop marketing plans for programs to build awareness of the park district. That's just one of those things that we are going to need to work on. We want to replace the front marquee sign and explore the opportunity to work with the village about getting different sign locations. At the east side of town, there's the farmers market has a nice little spot right in front of the village sign. Maybe there's an opportunity for us to do that as well. But because there is a sign ordinance, anytime that we want to put something in our parks, we're going to have to go to them as well. So we just want to look at that. Any questions? Wow. Okay. Too kind. strengthening community relationships and park district governance. This is so, we're one of several taxing and non-taxing bodies within the village, and as such, we need to work with everyone to make sure that we're providing the best service possible, as well as not duplicating services. All in an attempt to just make the village a better place for its residents. And so that's relationships. Park district governance really involves the policies, the ordinances, procedures, philosophies of the board, and just how you guys are going to work together, how you're going to make decisions that will guide the district. So we want to, whenever we can, develop that public-private or just intergovernmental relationship that's in the best interest of the community, that will provide the most effective and efficient programming or services possible. As we just went through the Distinguished Agency review, we need to look at our board manual, kind of make sure that we update that, and that goes into making sure that we review and update board members as needed. We want to increase transparency, and we need to educate the board on the financial direction of the district. We want to develop and distribute a year-end financial review, not only to you, but to the community, so that they're aware. And again, that's the transparency that we wanted to build. And again, the board policy handbook that needs to be strengthened. And another thing that we noticed that we were going through Distinguished Agency is we really needed an administrative manual to tighten up our processes and procedures, so that staff understand what to follow. More importantly, if they're unsure of what we need to do when it comes to a purchasing policy, they can go to that manual and figure that out. So we have several intergovernmental agreements out there right now. Many of them haven't been looked at for a few years, so we want to update those as needed. We want to continue participation in state and national organizations, that's IPRA and NRPA, to develop strong leaders and increase knowledge of the industry's best practices. We want to, we did 5 community input meetings just on the strategic plan alone, but we want to look at every opportunity that we can to increase the community engagement and outreach. And that's one of the additionally, with the PTOs that we're working on, trying to work with over at 67 is kind of what we're trying to do there. We want to closely monitor and effectively communicate with the board regarding state legislation that may be impacting Parks and Recreation. We want to look for opportunities for the board and local legislators to meet, so that we can build strong relationships. We want to encourage the park district leadership to participate in community service clubs. So, the Rotary is the first one that comes to mind. And that's it. Any questions?
Rough audience.
I know. Like I said, speechless. Oh, I'm sorry.
So we want to be able to develop and maintain highly engaged employees. And in order to do that, the best way to ensure that is for us to hire and train the most efficient staff that we can. And in doing that, recently we have tried to do that, and now we can have the opportunity to retain that staff. And how are we going to do that? We have to make sure that we motivate staff, that we keep our compensation and our benefits very consistent with the industry. We also need to continuously look at our hiring ranges, our salary ranges, our job descriptions, and most of all, make sure that we have the people in the correct positions. In order to do that, some of the recommendations are to develop core competencies for leadership. Not only, it says leadership positions, but we also want to do it from the ground up to build leaders as well. we want to allow staff to go to training opportunities. Now, I know usually we go to IPRA, but what we're thinking is to go outside of just IPRA and offer something that might be more specific to someone's job. So we want to evaluate and revise the new employee orientation and training program. There's always new information that we need to get out to staff. So sometimes and I even would want to take that one step further and to give that evaluation, the employee orientation, continuously to employees, because all those information and all the sheets and the sign-ups are constantly being updated. We want to revise the evaluation to include core competencies. We want to come up with a vision and a mission for our team. We want to develop a succession management process. We're going to create a new guest service standards and training programs, and then we also want to include the board and strengthen their competencies as well. Okay, so we want to really uphold an accountable workplace. This is where a lot of staff struggle because a lot of their jobs or their processes are very ambiguous, so we want to make sure that everyone is clear on what their positions are and what they're really going to be evaluated on. We want to make sure that they really are accountable, because once they are, we can mend all the gaps and we can become a team, more of a team unit. In order to do that, we need to give them the expectations, what's expected of them, not only from the beginning of the orientation process, but continuously. We want to monitor and report on the progress of the individual, the department, and the agency. We want to again go back into the transition plans, and then we want to try to do annual leadership retreats, as well as the trainings ongoing. Okay, continue and maintain transparent management practices. So develop ongoing relationships. That means not, meet someone, we just want to continue to go and build those, create and continue efforts in communication. That's one of the key things that we're really working on right now is every ATM, it's communication. Align resources toward employee and board growth development. And we're going to try to establish a customer service committee. We're going to do annual employee surveys for not only full-time, but for part-time staff as well. We want to have district-wide trainings, so it's not only the outside trainings, we're going to try to continue to do them internally as well. And online opportunities, so a lot of training. Questions?
Nothing? You're happy with everything? Who's next?
And now for the big guy.
Uh-oh. It was fun up until now.
All right. Now that you've had all the good news, now it's time for me to come in and say no. So we're going to start with the why we have to say no. Because we're trying to build a fun and a sustainable park district that will be able to go on into the 21st and 22nd century. In order to do that, we have to have plans in place on how to retain not only our resources, but also our interaction with the community in such a way as that we want to build a park district that serves everybody and it changes with everybody's needs as much as possible under the constraints that we have. We have many constraints. We have federal constraints, we have state constraints, we have local constraints, we have community constraints, and we also have bond covenant constraints, tax cap constraints. So we have to do a lot with a very limited amount of resources. So what we would like to do is we would like to annually review our process and to try to keep everything up to date. We want to be able to invest in our capital projects and invest in our infrastructure in such a way as to bring the most back that we can from our limited resources. We want to analyze our independent contracts. We want to be able to say maybe employment versus independence is
we have to weigh the positives and negatives and determine which one is the best one for us, which one will withstand not only a financial need, but our ability to deliver services and to meet all our contractual needs. We want to expand our outsourcing. We want to be able to have our staff in such a ways that they can address all our needs and be able to change with what our need. And also, we want to identify alternate source of funding. We want to be able to bring in. We've tapped out our major source of refund, our major source of resources right now. So we have to look into more. We have to look into other things. We have to be able to bring in through sharing with other government agencies, with sharing with private, public, state, federal, grants, any type of, we have to be as creative as possible to bring in as many resources, as well as to shepherd and to protect the resources we do have, in order that we will have enough till we can address our needs and as well as bring as much funding and bring our financial health up as much as possible. So, of course, we always want to keep our financial and we always want to have policies set up that meet best practices. We try to stay with the norm. We try to stabilize our funds. We try to have fees that match what the market will bear, and also be able to adjust them in such a way as that we're also having classes and programs that have enough participants that we meet the need of the program, as well as to have the program that will pay for itself with any kind of overhead that's necessary in order to run the program. Our debt issuance and debt management, very tough issue right now. Debt is necessary, but it's also a thing that can drag us down. So you have to compete with both interests in order to issue debt, but also issue it in such a way as that you're getting everything that you need from that particular debt instrument that you put out, because that is very strict. You have to do things a certain way, and once you're in it, it's hard to get out. So you have to, and that leads into balancing your operating budget. You have to be sure to bring in all the resources that you can, and that you're conserving your expenditures or fund balances in such a way as to be able to build your balances up, and excessive balances can then be transferred in for capital needs. And then, of course, you want to keep your capital plan that's necessary to address our aging infrastructure, but as well as to maybe go away from some plan that we had in the past because the use of the resource or the infrastructure has changed. We want to reevaluate our policies on resident versus non-residents. We want to, again, it gets back to the same thing, a program that if we're out pricing the non-resident and we don't have enough participants, then it becomes a problem. So we want to try to address the compensation and the rates of fees to make the program as beneficial as possible and to return on investments. We want to strengthen our internal controls. We want to be able to run programs that we've reviewed them, make sure that the process is set up so that there's a certain amount of oversight, but we also we know that we don't want to set up a program or an oversight that costs more than the benefit. The cost is more than the benefit. Establish a foundation. We've been talking about establishing a foundation for a while. Foundation would allow us to do certain things different than we have within the park, but not too much different because the rules are changing. A foundation that's made up of just the park has to somewhat follow the park rules. If you have a foundation that's maybe separated or a bit distant from it, you may be able to be a little more outgoing in your processes of how you want to do financial aid, receive donations, and expend certain funds. And then we want to conduct staff training and to educate the staff on our budget process, our tax process, our levy process, why we can't do everything we want to do, why we're constrained. Any questions? You got to have one. One? One?
I would change that slide just to promote more discussion, questions, comments, criticism,
Okay.
complaints.
He didn't ask for criticism.
I would
He
like
just asked for questions.
I'd
Okay.
expand kind of the reaction.
Okay. What didn't you like?
Yeah.
Anything.
What time?
Yeah, Marie. All right.
Now we're digging on the bench. We're really going to the bench now.
Good evening. First, I just wanted to thank everyone for allowing me the opportunity to be involved in this process. It was a little being thrown right into the fire as I attended my first ESC meeting the week before I actually started employment here. But it turned out to be a great opportunity for me to quickly learn more about the Park District and the community and what opportunities are for us to better serve our residents. So.
Where's our IT?
There you go. My colleagues did a great job presenting their initiatives, but recreation programming is really the lifeblood of what we do here at the Park District. We employ professional staff dedicated to developing and managing our recreation programs, but we need to provide new and unique experiences for our residents as well. We can do that through trend analysis, creative thinking, and listening to the feedback from our participants. Morton Grove has a thriving and increasingly diverse population, and we need to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all segments of our population. With the current financial constraints we have, it is important that we boost our revenues generated from recreation programs and rental facilities, user fees. As Jeff alluded to, there's lots of other agencies that provide similar service. That's an opportunity for us to develop new partnerships and provide those unique experiences. We did look back a lot at the 2013 comprehensive plan and the needs assessment that was done there for opportunities to provide additional programming. And our ultimate goal, really, from all I'll talk about our recommendations, is we want to differentiate ourselves from the competition and be the go-to recreation agency where people look first for their leisure needs.
Worked for everybody else.
I'm a ghost. So how are we going to do all that? We need to continue building on what we have now and continue to provide recreation activities for all ages, all segments of the population. We need to make sure we're hiring qualified program staff to lead those programs, and then when it is appropriate, to look at independent contractors to supplement what we can do with staff. And we need to make sure that our programs are accessible for families with multiple working parents. We want to look at developing a loyalty program that's going to reward patrons, frequent patrons, because they become our best advertising as they go back out into the community and talk to their neighbors and friends and schoolmates about the great opportunity, the great fun they had at the Park District. So we want to reward those people as well. We want to create opportunities for people to participate in multiple programs, whether that's an add-on class to a preschool where they stay out or and have a science or STEM class or a technology class, or whether it's an opportunity for a parent to participate in a program, a fitness class, something to that effect, while their child's in a program as well. So we want to create those opportunities. Greg talked a lot about our facilities and doing space studies. We want to make sure that our facilities are meeting the needs of our programs, as well as making sure that we're utilizing the spaces we do have. So we want to take a look at that. We want to partner with other agencies to make sure that we're providing a comprehensive program. Maybe there's an opportunity to do a program. We don't have a facility for ice skating. It's the first thing that comes to mind, that we can partner with another agency to provide those programming with their facilities and work closely with colleagues across the borders as well to serve our residents. We want to conduct annual surveys to evaluate our existing program, but that also gives us an opportunity for our participants to give us their feedback, let us know what their needs and wants are so we can develop programs around that. We want to continually review demographic information to make sure that we are reaching all segments of our population. And Marty will like this. We want to, again, raise our user and registration fees to be closer to 50% of total district revenues, less reliance on the tax base. So again, thank you for the opportunity, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
That was a great job, Joe. You ever think of maybe doing a game show?
You know, one thing that we all have in common in all these initiatives, there is a measure for success that I think is important for me to mention. Every initiative has a different criteria to determine how well we're doing on meeting that initiative. So.
No, I thought it was a really, I thought it was a really good job. I mean, it was a pleasure getting to work with everybody here around the whole room. I kept thinking as I was watching the presentation, actually for the second time, because I got to see the C for the first time. But Dan mentioned in a previous conversation with Chuck and I and Jeff that one of the things that I think has to happen beyond kind of tidying this up and improving the process and whatever, you know, the strategic plan looks like in its final form. I think that it will be important to communicate to the community, and that's what we were talking about in meeting, that the plan in all of its details and all of the thoughts that all of the staff put into it are really terrific, and on a day-to-day expert level, that's really important. But I do think that we are going to have to actually have some sort of consumable information so that the public can kind of get behind and know what you're doing also.
And keep us accountable.
And keep you accountable, that's exactly right.
A lot of plans are in the basement shelf.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. And you know, but if you put them out there in some sort of digestible format for the public and they know that you're trying to move ahead, I think that's an important component. I mean, that's one step beyond where we are, but I kept trying to think, okay, how much of this is digestible and how will we kind of put it into a, you know, Cliff's Notes version or something that somebody will pick up and say, God damn it, the Park District is doing good, you know, and I think that's ultimately what we have to do.
Yeah, as soon as we were done developing the task and timeline,
Yeah,
I've talked to Kathy, the marketing manager.
I jumped over all of that administrative stuff, okay? But I do think that's a component that we shouldn't lose sight of.
I think the other thing that I think is so critical with this planning process that we've worked on is that it is a tactical plan too. I mean, it's one thing that you can see those overarching initiatives that are coming out of here. And I think that I have found from using this process, what it does do is it builds teamwork between, I like to use the word teamwork, between the community, the board, and the staff, where everybody gets on the same page. And the initiatives that are being put forth are only as good as how well they're implemented. So the next phase that we'll be working with the team on is taking those recommendations and spreading them out over a 5-year period of time. And you could call it an action plan. So in your mind, those tasks will be looking at those closely with your team. What kind of action is going to come out of that aspiration that we heard about tonight? Okay, there's a lot of aspiration. We want to do this. We want to be that. And to tell you truthfully, there is a lot on this plan. Anybody who thinks 5 years from now that it'll be easy to even achieve 90% of these, they think it's going to be easy. It will not. But what I believe, and I think your team believes, is going to put in that infrastructure that you need to have in place to continue to make not only your park district, but your community, and that's what I love about your mission statement. It just doesn't talk about the benefits of the Park District here and now. It talks about how you improve the community and the things that are going to be done. So building infrastructure, sustainability, community involvement and support, and I can't emphasize enough to do what you do and do it well. And that's where Jeff and the team, we heard over and over again, we want to position ourselves, the things that we're doing now, we want to use the strategic plan to help us identify those things that we're doing, whether it's in the area of customer service, whether it's the employees that are working here, that people are engaged, they take pride in what's taking place, and we want the community involvement and support so they can see that those things are happening and that we're doing well. And then I think Joe nailed it, refocusing program offering in this community more so than any others that we're working on now because of changing demographics. Is that 5 years from now, Joe can get up there and say, hey, we've listened, we've evaluated, we know that those programs now are going to meet the changing needs, whether it's the aging population, whether it's the changing demographics with the different nationalities and things like that, trying to meet their needs. And at the same time, keep those programs filled, and as Marty said, keep those registration fees coming in. So that's kind of an overview, and just say that both Charlie and I really enjoyed working with your team on this, and we enjoyed being the consultants. And the next time you will see us again will be in December when the plan will come to you. And I ask that you take the time to develop any questions that you may have. Get them to Jeff now so we can make sure they get addressed. And Charlie and I will continue to look at how we can, work with the team in making sure this information is digestible by the public. One other thing that I would also say is that the accountability end of the strategic planning comes in updates. We're suggesting to the board that there be 6-month updates. We will give you samples of what those updates could potentially look like. I'm not saying you have to use the sample that we're going to give you, but when we come back to you in December, we will share that with you as something that every 6 months you will be getting updates on the initiatives and the tasks that are being worked on during that year. Any questions, concerns?
I would just like to say that I think that the Park District was very fortunate to have a team such as this with the wealth of experience that they have. And the fact that they've done these strategic plans, probably, how many different park districts now?
We're in 5 right now.
5, and how many times have you been involved?
A lot.
A lot, I know that's really kind of your forte. And when I met with Charlie and Chuck, the one question I asked them, I wanted to know their evaluation of our team here. I know we have a young staff, I know we have some tumultuous history on turnover and things, and I was really concerned whether, Jeff and everybody's going to be able to pull it. And you guys gave a really A+ review of the staff and their participation and their level of grasping what their mission was on this. So I thank you guys for bringing that out and giving us a good report card on what the people have here as the staff. Commissioner's comment. Commissioner Mark Mano.
I just want to thank everybody for their hard work on this plan, and staff and everybody else. And also thanks for the work on the Race to the Taste. It was successful, I understand. Couldn't be there, but it went well. So,
Commissioner Bruner.
Thank you for helping our staff come up with this comprehensive plan. I think it's a good place to start, and I think that's going to do well with the staff that we have here. And
I want to, again, reiterate everything I said earlier about you guys. Great, and staff are participating. And once again, I got to single out one individual who doesn't get recognized as much as they should, but does get picked on an awful lot. Claudia for that distinguished agency work. I mean, that is a big part of this plan. I mean, it really is. It really is. And the fact that you got through it, and you're not talking to yourself
Anymore.
But it was-
Anymore.
I know that they've worked on this for a number of years here, and the fact that you got it done.
It was a pleasure.
Right.
You're welcome.
And
Thank
the
you.
fact that you guys got this done in 6 months is really, really great. And officially now, I'd just like to take a moment of silence for Commissioner Corsi, and that's all I have to say. Is there a need for executive session? So,
Now that we have the time, yes.
need a motion to go into executive session.
I make a motion for the board to go into closed session in accordance with the Open Meetings Act section 120/2C1, 120/2C3, 120/2C11, and section 120/2C21.
Is there a second, Mark?
Second.
Take the roll.
Commissioner Bruner?
Yes.
Commissioner Stackman?
Yes.
Commissioner Mano?
Yes.
Did you look up Thomas Mann in your book?